You have a conscious partner who is connecting to you, to your higher self, through meditation, through spiritual path working. I'm hearing the last romantic. So it feels like this person has become very jaded and disillusioned by love and romance. This is somebody, it feels like, that is not actively dating. You will not find this person on a dating website. This is the type of person that has kind of shifted their focus away from an experience of chasing love or previous kind of methods that they had utilized to try and connect with other people romantically that had just led to disappointment after disappointment. So this person has kind of, withdrawn from the idea of like able to connect with or find anyone in sort of a traditional sense. It feels like this person has like one grain of hope left inside of them, that there will be a romance for them that is satisfying on all levels in this lifetime. This is somebody who has come to a place of acceptance about their solitude. They may be choosing to be single, choosing to be celibate. Somebody that has a very high standard, that has worked very hard to raise their standards. And it's like, I'd rather be alone than settle. I would rather wait for something that feels right rather than spread my energy very thin or, kind of waste my time going through the motions of the processes that I have gone through before, only to come up and empty-handed as far as love is concerned. And so it feels like, in conjunction with this person that is not, it feels like they aren't just like freshly cultivating a spiritual path or a spiritual practice or a spiritual life for themselves, but they're really leaning into that at this particular moment in time. It's a source of a lot of strength for them, for their life in general, but there's also something that is helping them to recognize, I know that I have like a soulmate out there. Somewhere out of the billions of people on this planet, there is somebody that is meant for me. And so this is somebody, it feels like, that has kind of given the situation over to God. They've given the situation over to the universe, over to the divine. And there's a sense of like, okay, if I'm alive, I'm here walking this earth, I'm living, I'm breathing, I have all this love to give and a desire to receive love in return, then there is one person out there that is in alignment with that. Not just for today, but in who I'm going to evolve into for tomorrow. And so this is somebody that they are like praying at this particular point in time. If it is meant to be in this lifetime, I trust the universe to align me with this person, with you, in this case, you, the viewer. And there's a sense that in the meantime, or as part of that kind of like manifestation process, they are actively connecting with your higher self in order to experience some solace, in order to experience that form of connection at a higher level, at a higher vibration than what their earthly experiences have shown them at this particular point in time. So some of you may like the idea or the term of like a kingdom spouse. This feels to be somebody that fits into that category. This is definitely somebody that is embodying on a regular basis and in a very strong and substantial way. This is like a divine masculine energy. You can always flip those roles around. If you resonate as a divine masculine, then this is your divine feminine. It's somebody that is in alignment with that higher level love. It's somebody that if you cross paths with one another, you are able to, for sure, anchor that experience of a higher level love into the 3D. And so at this point in time, you may be feeling this person, like if you connect through meditation or you're kind of like striving for, that sort of like higher level love, you've closed the door to kind of more mundane or typical ways of sort of going about finding love and partnership. This person's on the same page as you. And again, there's this essence of that they're like, I'm okay to like live my life alone if that's what's meant to be, if that's in accordance with like my soul's blueprint, or necessary for kind of like fulfilling some sort of purpose, or if that's just kind of how things play out in this lifetime. But I am not going to lower my standards ever again. I'm not going to stoop down. I'm not going to settle for something that doesn't align with what I am aware of is this like higher potential, like a higher love that is possible to have in a human sense with one other person on this planet, which in this case is you. So we have the first step is taken. You have asked for help. So it feels like as much as this person is closed off to like dating or just, keeping their options open, they are still trying to keep that open heart. This is somebody that has asked for like signs and guidance to help them align with steps forward that they may need to take in their life in order to increase the odds in their favor that they will encounter you physically in this lifetime. It feels like this person has sort of detached from the idea of timing. They have embraced the concept of divine timing. And so they're very much at a place of peace and trying to like strengthen that place of peace about if we are meant to meet soon, that's beautiful. If we are meant to meet later on, like later in life, that is beautiful too. If we are not meant to connect physically in this lifetime and it's only supposed to be this higher level experience, in preparation for maybe like a future incarnation, or that's just how it plays out in this lifetime, I am accepting of that as well. So for those of you that are going to align with this person, for some of you it'll be soon, for others of you, again, this is something that's like a little bit further down the road. This almost brings in this kind of like reassurance that all of your efforts to sort of like choose better for yourself, to love yourself very fearlessly and to stop settling for things that are just a reflection of like a lesser version of yourself, or that lower your frequency or are not in conjunction with what your soul is telling you is possible. No matter what the world may say, this is almost like your soul telling you there's something better than just like an average connection. There's something better than settling. And for those of you that have kind of like, you've made that vow to yourself, like, I'm going to hold out until I experience that. I'm going to hold out until there is that whisper within me that says, yes, this is the right person, and that they are receiving that within them as well. And it is two people working in tandem in a co-creative way to really build upon that sort of essence of connection within. This can be that confirmation that there is somebody else out there, on this planet, alive right now on this planet, that is operating on that frequency as well, very consciously. And we also have to overcome. You first have to climb. So it feels like this person at this particular point in time is getting a lot more serious about kind of like asking themselves the question, what is sort of the meaning of my life? Or what is the meaning of the things that I've been participating in? The life that I've built for myself? Is this just satisfying in terms of like material needs or, egoic rewards? Or is this something that really feels like a fulfilling experience in the 3D? What is the legacy that I am leaving? What is the impact that I am making on the world around me, or the lives of people around me, or people that I care about? It feels like this is a very conscientious person that for a lot of you, they are right now in the midst of making like a big shift to their personal narrative arc. This could be somebody that's getting ready to like go back to school and change careers. They're getting ready to, pursue like a lifelong dream or something they've been working on behind the scenes to really like take that to the next level, so that it doesn't just exist in that realm of what if. This person is aware that kind of like the love that they are seeking, it exists on this higher timeline, but they're not going to get there if they sort of just stand there and kind of look up, at the ceiling, at like the glass ceiling, or, this point on the horizon that they want to reach, and they don't do anything. Like their prayers, giving it over to the universe, trusting in the process, that'll only take them so far. So this is somebody who is activated. They are activating themselves. They're very self-directed, they're very self-motivated, something where it may even be an act of bravery to take a substantial step beyond, the kind of routine that they have had, the path that they have been walking, things that they have already sort of looked at are satisfying but not deeply fulfilling. This is the energy of somebody who is like answering a call within or taking the next step to sort of further that. And so what they are aligning with, this may be something that really fits in with kind of like where you're at energetically, where you're at actually. It may even be that this like next big step on this person's life path, like a new journey that they are beginning, this is what creates that open doorway for the two of you to align. So it's like they're making their way towards you at this moment. We also have inner space, universal knowledge. Yeah, so this is somebody who is a very spiritually evolved person, a very spiritually advanced person. This is not somebody who has just recently awakened and they're kind of like, taking in all these different concepts or trying a lot of different things on for size, to see what works, to see what fits for them, to see what resonates internally as truth. This is something where they have gone through their awakening, a while ago, relatively speaking. This is somebody who has kind of like forged a very unique path for themselves that has been almost like their spiritual life has been very separate in a lot of ways from their material life. And that may be kind of the position that they're in right now of like, okay, I need to make some sort of change where, the essence of spiritual truths that I've come to understand or, kind of what resonates with me or things even to kind of advance and evolve to that place in my life where I'm able to encounter that conscious partner, that divine partner, that higher level soulmate, that kingdom spouse. All of that requires a shift in their material world. And so this is somebody that's almost trusting in that path to like lead them forward. This is somebody that prays for guidance, asks for signs. This is not somebody it feels like that is aligned with a very traditional path. It may be something where they've almost kind of created sort of a patchwork spirituality, teachings and modalities from like different traditions, and they've created something that is a very unique blend for themselves that it feels like has helped to improve a lot within this person's internal world, within their energy, within their perspective, within their mindset. And now this is kind of the precipice of this person sort of taking all of that inner work and allowing that to translate into big changes as far as what that material circumstance looks like. So again, this is somebody that's on the brink of kind of like changing careers, changing jobs, relocating somewhere, creating a different structure for themselves in terms of like what their day-to-day life looks like. And that puts them on this direct path, like even closer to this place where they are able to connect with you at a higher self level, and yet they're not just sort of waiting for the divine to kind of deliver them right to you. This is somebody that's like, I'm not going to go out scouring to the ends of the earth to seek that divine partnership, because I've learned that's not how things like this operate. This person's like on receiving mode, but they are very alert, they are very open to particular signs that are like nudging them in new directions for themselves and for that sense of alignment. But there's also something that kind of signals and indicates to them that, taking those steps, making that kind of like come into form, this is the most guaranteed way to ensure that they are like walking their talk and that they are able along that sort of higher timeline to align with that higher level partnership that they would like to have with you, that they sense is possible with you, that they may even be creating at this moment in the liminal space by connecting with you very consciously with your higher self in those meditative spaces, in a place where they are like actively sort of journeying into this experience of like, okay, I'm closed off to like material experiences of love and romance unless it's resonating with me at a soul level, and I'm not finding those experiences. I haven't had those experiences with others around me, so I'm not going to settle for less than that, and I will content this kind of like romantic urge within by having those exchanges energetically with you, the person that I know is like meant for me in the highest sense or in the utmost sense. If we can only have them in that sort of, higher realm, that imaginal space, that meditative space, if that's like all we get in this lifetime, so be it. But this is something where they're like, I'm going to keep connecting with that. So I'm very familiar with that feeling. I'm familiar with your energy. I'm familiar with your essence. balance so that I can trust myself that if we cross paths with one another, when you arrive into my life or I arrive into your life, it's going to be like an instant recognition. That's the one, that's the person, that's the energy. And we also have you are on the right path. So yeah, this is somebody that has closed out of a major cycle in their life. They are leaving a certain lifestyle behind, a certain way in which the world has understood them or has, come to know of them. This is somebody who is rebranding like their entire life, and it may just be like one step forward, but it creates like a ripple effect. Something where, if they're changing careers, it's not just like I'm gonna go work for a different employer or a different office. It's like they're getting into a whole new field altogether that is going to change, socially things that they're doing. It's going to change, their relationship with money and abundance. It's going to change the nature of either how prominent they are socially, or this could, professionally and socially, or it could be something where they're having to take a step back from that, or it's more of like a retreating energy, somebody working behind the scenes. But this is somebody who has answered the call in the direction of something that feels right, and they're getting a lot of reinforcement and backing from the universe that this was like the right decision, that this is aligning them with that type of abundance, like vibrational abundance that they have needed, which it feels like is somebody that's recognizing like I have to make a door towards my own success, not just material success, but a feeling of like spiritual success. And they are trusting in that process, in kind of the follow through or the reciprocity from the universe. Like if I take that step forward, if I don't just sit there wishing, but I do something about it, then concurrent blessings, things that really align with that, including the higher level love, the divine level love and romance that I want, that will follow. We also have true love can never really be lost. So this can definitely be a past life connection between you and this person. For a lot of you, this is the lifetime where you're destined to have that happily ever after, but not something that came off of just like an easy path forward. High school sweethearts, they then got married and they stayed together, for 50 years. This is not that kind of a love story. This is something where it feels like the two of you have gone through your fair share of challenges, disappointments, lessons. You needed to choose yourself again and again to come to this place where like this person again is they're very much at peace with sort of like, if I need to be a solitary person, if I need to be single in this lifetime, I embrace that fully. Not like I feel that I've missed out on anything, but this is something where they're finding enrichment in that choice to choose themselves because they have graduated from a version of themselves. They've shed a version of themselves that was willing to kind of mingle their energy, their life, their time, their resources with people that we're not on that same frequency as them, or we're not interested in kind of, raising their vibe at all. We're not interested in kind of evolving or change. It feels like this person, for some, this is somebody who has been married before. They were in like a karmic connection, or, just even something that, had its own sort of distortions and toxicities. And so in the aftermath of a divorce, this is like they've committed themselves to bettering themselves to a more spiritual life, to kind of like making better choices. For others, this is somebody that, has just kind of had disappointment after disappointment as far as love and romance is concerned. And they reached a point where they were like no longer able to just point the finger of blame at others. And they needed to kind of take ownership as the common denominator in situations of disappointment. What can I do to, improve the odds that I will have success further down the road? And for those of you that are resonating with this, it feels right. It feels to align with maybe what you've been experiencing or your own perspective. This person has come to the decision of kind of like, I need to raise those standards and I need to keep those standards high. That it's not just like, go to therapy for a little bit or read a self-help book or, stay out of the dating pool for a month or a year, following breakups. This is somebody that has sought to kind of like reinvent themselves from the inside out. And it feels like it didn't sort of start off as that would be the plan, but they got hooked on whatever it is that they discovered, whatever it is that kind of like captivated them or has shown them like a progression of results that are not just pleasing, but something that are very transcendent. Like earlier on, in terms of their path, whenever they awakened or, made that decision, kind of do that internal work, This is something where this person has a clarity of vision now, where there's the sense of sort of like, I'm okay with like a spiritual love, even if it's immaterial, if that's kind of how it plays out in this lifetime, because I'm not going to kind of sacrifice my spiritual serenity, trying to align with people that are just not a vibrational match, or just not like-minded, don't have that same kind of depth or perception that I do, or the willingness to cultivate that. So it feels like this person brings a lot of skills into the connection, in terms of like a spiritual awareness. This is somebody that can definitely, grow with you spiritually, actually, emotionally. It feels like this person is in a very kind of like mutable energy. They've got things that work for them, things that resonate for them, but this is somebody that's very open-minded, very open to kind of like, if you encounter one another, if you connect with one another, if you align with one another, this is going to be something where even if it's like different kind of spiritual views or different sort of spiritual practices, this person has kind of like mastered their ego enough that they can hold space for that with another person. Or it may even be that you each have like keys for one another to kind of like unlock further doors of exploration, to kind of reach that energy of spiritual gnosis within yourselves individually, that is then able to translate into your experiences materially with one another. And it feels like you've both been journeying for quite some time across multiple lifetimes in order to come to this place here and now, where spirituality is kind of more and more becoming like a household word. There are many options. There are lots of bits of information out there, some of it good, some of it bad, but it's a very exploratory time in human history. And so it feels like it is no accident that your souls have beamed yourselves into human vessels in the here and now. And so this is somebody, it feels like, that you are destined to encounter. And if nothing else, just in those higher realms, whether you choose to like align with another romantic partner further down the road, it feels like this person is very committed to that vow they made to themselves. Like, I am okay being single until the moment arrives when I meet that person, that my soul gives me the green light that says yes. And so for a lot of you, this is something where you are meant to encounter this person. You didn't just do all that kind of like work spiritually, just to learn to love yourselves. That was like the first step forward to be able to kind of receive, perceive, and actively co-create in like a higher octave with somebody that's operating on the same frequency, or is kind of like looking towards that, has incorporated a lot of that within kind of their day-to-day reality, and increasingly in sort of their choices moving forward. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.